Youthful Grace, age 12 to 25. This is a beautiful chapter of the noble seerah, where the light of character and fragrance of noble conduct spread across every corner. It is the phase where the innocence of the childhood begins to mature into the dignity of youth and where the first rays of prophethood begin to appear to the horizon. This golden era of youth, age 12 to 25, is the time when the sun of wisdom rises, when the torch of integrity and truthfulness is kindled, and when the beacon of patience and insight is illuminated. From the age of 12 to 25, this chapter of Prophet ﷺ's life is filled with journeys, treaties, trials, and triumph. It is during this time that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ learned the principle of trade, came to understand Arab military politics, adopted the values of justice and fairness, and began his martial life. 1. At age 12, first journey to Syria. This was not merely a business expedition, but the beginning of wisdom, foresight, and a prelude to prophethood. The young Muhammad ﷺ accompanied his uncle Abu Talib on a trade caravan to Syria. On the way, they stopped at Basra, where they encountered Bahira, a Christian monk and scholar of divine scriptures. Gazing upon the blessed face of Muhammad ﷺ, Bahira recognized him instantly through the prophecies of the Torah and Gospel. This is the final prophet. This journey was the prophet's first exposure to the politics, geography, and markets of Arabia. Number 2. At age of 15, Battle of Fijar. Another tribal war erupted in the land of Arabia, this time in the marketplace of Ukaz, between the Quraysh and Kinana tribes on one side and the Qais Ailan tribes on the other. Since the battle occurred in the sacred months, it was called the Battle of Fijar. Although Muhammad ﷺ did not take up a sword himself, he closely observed war strategies, tribal tactics, and the political dynamics of Arabia. Number 3. At age 20, Alliance of Virtue, Hilf al-Fudul. This was an era of ignorance, where the powerful imposed their own rules and the weak cried in vain for justice. In Makkah, injustice has become rampant. Travelers were being robbed, the rights of poor were being trampled. In response, a group of righteous men formed a pact known as Hilf al-Fudul, the Alliance of Virtue, and Muhammad ﷺ was among its members. This was not merely a political alliance, it was a declaration of justice, equality, and human rights. Later, the Prophet ﷺ remarked, "If I was called today to such a pact, I would surely join it." This was the Prophet ﷺ's first public stance in support of oppressed. Number 4. At age 23, second trade journey to Syria. This was the journey in which the brilliance of his honesty and integrity illuminated the heart of Khadija radiyallahu anha, the most esteemed businesswoman in Makkah. She had decided to send a trade caravan to Syria, and impressed by Muhammad ﷺ's trustworthiness, truthfulness, and sound judgment, she entrusted him with leadership of the mission. This journey was not only the commercial success, it was a testament to the radiant character of Muhammad ﷺ. Khadija's servant witnessed several miraculous occurrences during the trip and reported, "I never saw him lie, never found him deceitful, and noticed extraordinary wisdom in his decisions." Number 5. At age 25, blessed marriage with Khadija radiyallahu anha. This was the most memorable moment of youth, the joining of two pure souls in the sacred bond of marriage. Khadija radiyallahu anha, deeply impressed by Prophet ﷺ's truthfulness and the noble character, proposed marriage. The Prophet ﷺ consulted his uncle Abu Talib, and the blessed marriage was solemnized. Abu Talib delivered the marriage sermon, emphasizing lineage, piety, and virtue. The dowry was set at 500 dirhams, a respectable and honorable sum of that time. After marriage, Khadija radiyallahu anha entrusted her entire wealth to the Prophet ﷺ, who vowed to dedicate it to the cause of Allah. This union became a timeless example of love, respect, and sacrifice, a model for marital life. What does this youthful phase teach us? This was the age where the the foundation of character was laid. This was a time where truthfulness and integrity was ignited. These were the moments where purpose and greatness were found. This pre-prophetic youth teaches us values of honesty, dedication, effort, and sacrifice. It is a lasting inspiration for every young person that true greatness belongs to those who live by truth and justice. From here, a new chapter begins, one that led toward family expansion and the early stage of prophethood. Number 6. At age 10, the influence of hard work, compassion, and noble company. This was the age when an orphan boy wandered the streets of Makkah, tending goats, the same child who was to become the leader of the great Ummah, whose words would clarify the truths of heaven and earth, whose compassion would be a mercy to all living beings. But pause here and reflect. Is this just a tale of an innocent shepherd, or is there a deeper wisdom behind it? This stage was a training ground for hard work, compassion, humility, and leadership. Historical accounts tell us that the Prophet ﷺ herded goats in Makkah in exchange for a few qirat, a small currency unit, and in doing so, he gave us a timeless lesson. Every prophet has herded sheep. This was not merely a means of livelihood, but a divine system for shaping great personalities. Hardship in childhood, the foundation of resilience. This task was more than income. It was the Prophet ﷺ's introduction to hard work and endurance. At an age when most children are lost in play, the Prophet ﷺ was laboring with purpose. This was the stage where he was gathering life experience that would prepare him to guide a nation. Hard work is a foundation of all the success, a truth echoed in the lives of all great figures in history. For today's youth, this contains powerful lesson. If one develops the habit of working hard by age of 10, success will likely follow throughout life. If one learns to endure hardship early, facing future challenges become easier. Only the hardworking youth will be prepared for great responsibilities. The Prophet ﷺ embraced the dignity of labor in childhood, a trait that remained prominent throughout his life. Company of goats, humility, and training for the Ummah. Allah obtained that all prophet herd sheep as a divine curriculum. Every animal has its own symbolic influence, and Allah placed His prophets in environment that shaped them according to the needs of their nations. The horse symbolized bravery and speed, the camel patience and endurance, and the goat humility, greatness, and the mercy. Since the mission of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was to reform and nurture his ummah, he was placed among goats to cultivate the qualities needed for spiritual leadership. If we examine the nature of goats, we see trait reflected in Prophet ﷺ's personality. Humility. Goats are gentle, just like the Prophet ﷺ's temperament. Closeness. Goats stay close to one another, just as the Prophet ﷺ brought the ummah together. Gentle leadership. Goats are led with kindness, not force, just like the Prophet ﷺ led with compassion. Guidance. Goats rely on the shepherd for direction, just as Ummah relies on the Prophet ﷺ. This was no ordinary scene. Allah was preparing the Prophet ﷺ for his mission from childhood. Environment shapes character. This is an undeniable truth. A person becomes like the environment they are immersed in. Company of animals teaches humility, patience, and care. Company of scholars brings knowledge, wisdom, and integrity. Company of the righteous fosters honesty, remembrance, and sincerity. Company of the wicked breeds deceit, gossip, and lies. The same principle applies to families and nations. If truth is common in family, the whole generation become honest. If a nation adopts hard work as its principle, it sets itself on the path path of progress. But if a country embraces injustice and deceit, entire generations fall into moral decay. This same principle can be seen in the upbringing of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it remains the greatest lesson for us even today. Our current leadership, a moment of reflection. We must pause and reflect. What kind of companionship surrounds us today? The companionship of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was with sheep and goats, through which humility, compassion, and the ability to unite people were cultivated. The companionship of today's generation is with mobile phones, social media, and machines, which is breeding insensitivity. Many has come closer to machines, but grown distance from humanity. He spends hours on his phone, yet speak not a word to his parents. He gathers thousands of friends on social media, but remains lonely in real life. He owns the most advanced devices, yet peace eludes his heart. This is the effect of one's companionship. The teachings of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What must we do? If we desire for our generations to be righteous and trustworthy, we must ensure they are surrounded by good company. If we wish for softness and mercy to enter our hearts, we must spend time in presence of scholars and pious individuals. If we long for our ummah to unite once more, we must embrace the upbringing taught by Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Tending sheep was not merely a humble job, it was a practical lesson, a model for the entire ummah. Even today, if we choose righteous companionship, sit with virtuous people, and seek knowledge and wisdom, we can transform our lives. If we connect our youth with the Quran, the Hadith, and the company of the righteous, we can raise a nation ready to lead the world once again. This is the effect that was witnessed in the life of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is the effect we must bring back into our lives.